it's dragging, then I'll remind you when it's 8:20. But if we don't start on time, we may not get through any questions.
Okay,
So,
we're
see
ready.
that, did she point at you? Okay.
We're ready.
Ready? Yes. Okay. Welcome to the Candidates Forum for Newark Mayor. This forum is sponsored as a service to voters by the League of Women Voters of Fremont, Newark, and Union City. I am Anu Natarajan, a member of the League and your moderator for today's session. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan, although we do take positions on issues. We study issues that have potential governmental solutions and develop consensus amongst our members. Once we've developed a position as an organization, we take action for positive change. However, and this is important to understand, the League never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. This forum is part of the League's voter service function based on our mission to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation of citizens in government. So here are the rules for today. Our questions were collected from League members and the audience. The audience that's here still has the opportunity to give us questions on cards that will be passed around to you. Because of the time limits, we may not be able to ask every question submitted, but we'll try and cover the most frequently asked topics. Each candidate has up to 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Our volunteer timekeeper, Shamsa, will keep track of your time and let you know when your time's up. And if you would like for me to repeat a question, please ask, and I'm happy to do that. Also, just want to remind all three of you that you don't have to feel obligated to use the entire 1.5 minutes. I will vary the order in which I direct the questions to candidates so that you're not speaking in the same sequence. And at the end of the forum, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. So let's meet our candidates. We have Elisa Martinez, Jason Miguel, and Michael Hannon. So Elisa, based on how you picked, you go first for the first question. If you were to describe Newark, California, not Newark, New Jersey, to someone who has never visited the city, what would you say?
First of all, good evening. Again, my name is Elisa Martinez. Thank you to the League of Women's Voters and for hosting this forum, and thank you for those that are watching at home and those that are here. How would I describe Newark? I've done this often to friends and family that haven't been here. Newark is it's that city with that small town feel, and you know we're in an urban environment, which means I am 20 minutes from everything. If I needed if I needed to go and seek anything outside of Newark, but that's just we'll call the physical location. But I've lived here for over 30 years, and it's a city where I feel safe, where all of our community is proud of our police force, is proud of the diversity. You walk down the street and you see representatives from so many different cultures. I am proud of our schools. I am proud of the spirit of our students and the athleticism and that they are proud of. So there is so much that we as a community have to be proud of, and I always encourage them to come and stay here and enjoy the wonderful weather every afternoon.
Thank you. Jason?
Good evening. Thank you for hosting this to the League of Women Voters. How would I describe Newark? It's a small family town, as we'll all know. We have sub 48,000 residents living in this city. We're almost at 50,000. We're almost there, but right now we're not. And another thing I describe Newark as is the heart of the Bay. Right next to the Dumbarton Bridge, we're the gateway to the Stanford Shopping Center from people coming from Livermore who want to go to the Stanford Shopping Center, and people coming from Oakland who want to go down to San Jose to Santana Road. They'll have to pass through Newark at one point if they drive through 880. So we're the heart of the Bay, small family town, and we really just growing up, we knew our neighbors because we were so small. Some neighborhoods actually got to know each other because they're so small, they know each other's kids. But right now, what we're seeing is an exodus of older Newark residents who are selling their properties and downsizing, and new people are coming in, and they don't quite know what Newark is, and it's a great opportunity to tell them. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you for the opportunity tonight, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. Kathleen and I have lived in the city of Newark for 42 years, raised our 7 children here. And as mentioned by my colleagues here, what makes Newark such a great community is we still maintain that small town atmosphere. As I walk the neighborhoods, as I campaign for reelection, I get a real sense from the community that they love Newark. They love living in Newark, which is why you don't see a significant transformation of people selling their homes and moving on to other areas. They like to stay here. Their families want to live here. Geographically, other communities are jealous about where we are. We are located right next to the Dumbarton Bridge. So those folks that want to live in Menlo Park, Redwood City, and Palo Alto, where there are no homes being built, and if they are being built, they're unaffordable, they look at Newark as the next best alternative because of our proximity. Issues that other cities are dealing with, high crime, unaffordability in terms of housing costs, people don't necessarily experience all those issues here. We have an outstanding police department, a responsive fire department, and though our housing prices have escalated significantly over the last number of years, it's still much more of an affordable area for folks to live, work, and raise their families. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start the next question with you, Jason. Why are you seeking to serve as mayor, and what qualifies you to serve?
I'll start in reverse. What qualifies me? I grew up in Newark. I went through K through 12 public schools here. I recently graduated from the high school in 2017. So I get that even younger people graduating from high school, they're not returning to Newark. So that's a catalyst into running for mayor of Newark, trying to attract younger people to move into the city, plus retaining those who grew up in the city, those who went throughout the high school system, the K through 12 public school system, to return to the city. The number one thing I hear from people I graduated from high school with is, let's meet up in Fremont, let's meet up in Union City to eat at various restaurants there. And that's something that Newark can help change. Change is the one word I'd like to emphasize on. And throughout the election process, we can also change how we elect city council to district-based elections to ensure that the city council looks like the demographics of the city. Also changing term limits to make sure that we can send our leaders up to other offices like state assembly, state senate, even Congress, because New Jersey shouldn't be the only Newark that could send someone to the US Senate. I think Newark, California can do the same thing. We can send someone to the US Senate and Congress. We just need to give them the support. Also, improving and expanding the number of commissions that residents can serve on is vital. So that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Michael?
Well, thank you. Why do I want to be the mayor? Well, I am the mayor. So let me start off with that. I am the mayor. I'm proud to be the mayor of our city. I have a great love for our city. I've worked in government for almost 45 years. And you have to have a passion for working in government and being elected in to serve. I've had an opportunity to walk and meet many of our residents as I've campaigned this season. And as a public servant, your responsibility is to not just implement policy, but your obligation is to listen to the public and what are their priorities as you try to deliver the priorities that the community has identified. As mentioned, served in government, but I also do volunteer work. You know, if you're going to be a good public servant, you're going to lead your community, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. I've been a member of the Meals on Wheels for over 10 years. I have the opportunity to deliver meals over in Union City to vulnerable seniors. Currently the president of the Newark Rotary Club. I also serve on the Viola Blythe Foundation, again, providing services to those members in our community that are in most need. We are a multi diverse community. And as the mayor, I recognize the importance of diversity in our community. I attend many cultural events, many religious events, because that's the composition of our community. And I want to make sure that they understand that as their mayor, I recognize the importance and the qualities that they bring to our community and support them.
Thank you. Same question for you, Elisa.
Yes, so I've lived here for over 30 years. I've had my 2 children here, I've raised them here. They've gone to our local schools. One is now attending Ohlone College, so I am deeply rooted here. I was elected to the Newark Unified School Board in 2018. Since then, I've been elected to the Ohlone College Board, where I am currently the vice chair. So coming full circle to why am I running and that definition of Newark, I too cherish that feeling of a small town. However, over the years, there's been a lot of changes that have come by, and the demand for diverse housing, a demand for excellence in education, for protecting our environment. And so these themes have been raising, and unfortunately, Newark's progress over the years has been slow and incomplete. So consequently, to Jason's point, a lot of folks are leaving, and those of us that are left behind feel like we're not, our needs are not being met. I have the experience being able to lead councils. I understand the process, and so I am ready to come and drive some of the changes that we need here in Newark.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question, and Michael, we'll start with you. What are the top 3 issues the city is facing, and how would you approach finding solutions?
Sure, thank you very much. The top issue that we're always going to face as a community is public safety. And residents, when they pick up the phone to call 911, they want somebody to respond to their home, whether it be a criminal activity or a fire. They want somebody on their property quickly. So public safety is always going to be important to me and the top priority for me. The next priority is going to be affordability of the housing. We're losing folks that find Newark unaffordable, not to nearby cities, but we're losing them to outlying cities like Modesto, Fresno, and other communities that are significantly further away than Newark. So we're losing people to further communities, but we have a plan. We have built quite a number of affordable housing units here in the city of Newark, and most recently approved a development on Thornton Avenue where we have set aside 13 of those units where they will be sold to folks, and the price range will be between $250,000 and $350,000. So we're doing our best to try to make affordability an issue. The other issue, of course, is the quality of life. I want our parks to be outstanding. I want to expand our parks throughout the city. We last did a master plan for the parks, and we implemented all those priorities that the community identified: a skateboard park, turf fields, and a dog park. We're now moving into that next phase of recreation and parks for our community. So I want to hear from the community what are their priorities moving forward with improving our parks and adding new park amenities. Thank you.
Elisa?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What are the top 3 issues the city is facing, and how would you approach finding solutions?
Yes, so the top 3 issues, and from my observations and certainly from walking as I'm campaigning, and what I'm hearing from the residents, is, of course, is the affordability of housing, public safety, specifically around the homelessness issue, as well as the infrastructure. And I'll say bucket infrastructure, our streets, but also the conditions of our parks. So I'll start with housing. I think that's one of the where we have quite a bit of room space and time that we need to make up, because for many years we didn't build, and then we built these gigantic homes, and we really took up a lot of our footprint. And those were not necessarily affordable homes, and they weren't necessarily high-density homes. And so, and in addition, instead of really forcing developers to build affordable homes, we took in lieu fees, And I'm not sure that we really maximize the use and the benefit of those in lieu fees. With regards to public safety, we need to continue to fund not only the police, but looking for wraparound services for the homeless through the county, partnering with the county and other agencies. And for infrastructure and recreational, we really need a plan to prioritize where we start, since we have quite a bit of gap there.
Jason?
Top three issues the city's facing, I'd say affordable housing, we've heard that, public safety, and also a lack of space. So lack of space and affordable housing go hand in hand. Newark is lacking the open space to build more. And one alternative that some people are mentioning is to build outwards to the shoreline, and I don't think that's something we should be doing. We should look at using rezoning into mixed use to have multiple homes, not just 2, 3-story apartments, but we can consider maybe 4 or 5 stories at current parcels and just revitalizing and planning for the future, because there will be a point where there's no more vacant land in Newark, and what are we going to do about it? You'll have to approach developers, you have to approach private property owners who unfortunately might have to sell their property that they love because it's in a prime real estate environment, but they can help with the affordable housing and the housing element. And on public safety, making sure that our police department is fully funded, making sure they can do their job dutifully and effectively and efficiently. And so a lot of people on the campaign trail, their number one concern is public safety. I think everybody knows that, and everybody up here has heard about that. And so those would be the top 3 issues, in my opinion.
All three of you mentioned affordable housing as one of your top 3 priorities, so let's talk about that. Recently, Newark made headlines when one of your council members, a family with 2 incomes, stated that he had to move out of Newark because he couldn't afford to buy a home here. My question to you is, in your recent housing element update, what innovative ideas did you include, especially to address middle-income housing? Elisa, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm not sure how innovative they are. I know we have targets that we need to hit. And I think that we really need to start looking at what are some alternate sources, how do we partner with different type of developers, very much looking at increasing the types of buildings, once again, increasing the density, thinking about how do we get some economies of scale by going after those types of developments. I think that we really need to focus our efforts. As I think about the housing element, where the state is asking us for somewhere around 1,800 units to contribute the Newark contribution, we're focusing on 2,800 units. I think we need to stop distracting ourselves and really focus on who is that population we're trying to serve. Can we partner with the district? Ohlone Community College just did that with a developer to build some rentals and to generate some revenue for the college. So looking at innovative practices, looking for the right developer partners, and most importantly, being very strategic and very specific about what we're going to do is the only way we're going to tackle this issue.
Thank you. Jason?
Affordable housing. You know, I graduated high school 2017. A lot of my high school classmates have left Newark already. Either, and you can't prevent this, they're living in where they went to college, and they might love it, and they're staying there. But those who aren't staying there permanently, they come back to Newark to live with their family, or they look elsewhere, because what I've heard is that there's nothing Newark offers compared to, you know, the Santana Rows, the Stanfords, you know, having that walkable space of having a store on the bottom floor, and you can walk right back up to your house. That's not possible in Newark yet, and I hope that changes. So that's one of the approaches that Newark should look at, you know, mixed-use housing, to ensure that even business owners, they can live right on top of their business, and they're right there. That can be one component we can look at. And also, I know that the city is in progress of not accepting in lieu fees for not building affordable housing units, and I think we should increase that percentage, but keep in mind that you have to look at rezoning a bit to make sure that these buildings are able and capable for developers to build multiple units, because if we can only build on 2-3-story apartments, condos, and you only take in 10% of a 100-unit facility, that's only 10 units. So if you can increase the number of units, you can also increase the number of affordable housing units for the people. Thank you.
Michael?
It was unfortunate that Councilmember resigned because of affordability of housing, but the issue that he was facing and others are facing is not dissimilar to others that are living in the Bay Area. It's a Bay Area-wide issue, and I'll be the first to mention that. But there is still some affordability. I did a walk the other day in the Joaquin Murrieta neighborhood, and there were still some units that were on the market for sale for just over $550,000. That sounds like a lot, but it's certainly much more affordable than what folks are going to find elsewhere in the Bay Area. We recognized the housing issue when we received $38 million from the state of California to convert an underutilized hotel, and were able to obtain 60 housing vouchers to help those that were really at that low income level to be able to have a home that they could call their own. So we have made significant strides. You mentioned the housing element. As has been mentioned, we have well over 1,800 units that we are mandated by the state to build. The state needs to get out of local zoning and let the cities make a determination as what's best for their communities. As mentioned by one of my colleagues here, we have certainly built our housing here in Newark over the last number of years. We've built thousands of homes. So to be saddled with this now 1,875 additional units with no state funding associated with it really puts a burden on local government. We have a long ways to go, but as mentioned, I made it real clear we want no more in lieu fees. I want to see units being built, and that's what we're going to see.
Thank you. Continuing on the theme of housing, New Park Mall had a housing proposal that is now on hold. What would you do to kickstart the New Park Mall specific plan? Jason, we'll start with you.
Well, there's multiple owners at the New Park Mall. We have Costco. If you look at the Alameda County APN map, Costco owns their parcel, Macy's owns their parcel, and then the property management owns the other half of the mall. So you have to work with all 4 parties, the city included, plus the developer, Costco and Macy's, so that all 4 are in tune and are making sure that even then they can provide their employees affordable housing, because turnover, that costs more for the businesses. So if they're able to keep and retain their employees at the affordable homes that could be built at New Park Mall, then it will help them out, save some money, because they don't have to recruit more people, use more resources, and they'll be able to sustain their future in the New Park Mall area. And in regards to what I'd like to see at New Park Mall, I think everybody, at younger people especially, they want to have homes that not necessarily have big lots, because that's a lot of time that they'll have to go outside and do gardening. A lot of Gen Z folks, they just want to stay inside. And so we can really capitalize that on, you can build smaller units and it'll achieve the purpose of having housing for them, and you can build more on top of that and make sure that more people can move into Newark, and we can reach that 50,000 population and have access to more grants for the city.
Thank you. Michael?
The New Park Master Plan was probably one of the most exciting plans that I had the opportunity to participate. It was a dynamic proposal that was brought forward by city staff working with the developer and the property owner, Brookfield Properties. We were going to build over 1,500 rental units in the parking lot. That was going to be the economic fusion for what the mall needs to support the retail there. If you have an opportunity, go to the City of Newark's website and look at the New Park specific plan, and you'll see really what was a dynamic proposal. I'm extremely disappointed that Brookfield Properties, they didn't put the project on hold. Their permit expired. We issued them a permit that was good for 2 years for them to come in and begin the process of obtaining permits, and they let that permit expire. And I met with Brookfield Properties to talk about this because I realized the mall needs to be revitalized. And the only way we're going to revitalize that mall is to put people there where they're going to want to shop, they're going to want to eat, and we're going to have recreational amenities that they're going to want to send their kids to. Brookfield told me, quite honestly, the rental market, it just simply doesn't pan out anymore with the high interest rates and everything else. I've told others that I'm willing to re-examine the proposal. If it doesn't need to be completely rental units. I'm happy to look at a combination of rental and owner-occupied properties, with certainly a number of those being affordable. But we'll stay on track and we'll get something done out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa?
Absolutely, I agree with Mayor Hannon. It is an exciting project for anyone who has seen the plans. So I think my question is, why haven't we been pushing this more? Why haven't we been trying to look at alternative partnerships to try to entice the property owners to actually go and develop this? Because I think it is an exciting. Jason, you mentioned what the younger generation is asking for. And those of us who've lived here for a long time, and I actually live on Joaquin Murrieta, so I'd love to be able to walk over too. So there is so much excitement. I think a lot of folks were talking about how exciting a project this was. And that's one of the main questions that I've gotten as I'm walking and canvassing is, hey, what happened to the development? So I think that for me, that is something that I absolutely would advocate for, is what are some of the options? What are some of the partnerships that we can bring to really put this opportunity on turbo and really deliver for our community?
Thank you. Michael, the next question goes to you. We begin with you. Are you in favor of ballot measure LL, which increases the hotel tax? And how would you propose to use the extra funding?
Sure. I absolutely support Measure LL. I absolutely support it. And we also received the fire department's support for Measure LL. Measure LL will probably bring between $2.2 million and $2.5 million to the city of San Jose, and the cost to our city residents is zero. This is an increase in tax on the hotels, where we're going from 10% to 14%. So let me put it in perspective. If you're paying $200 a night for a room, your hotel tax is going to go up $8. That's it, $8. A cup of coffee at Starbucks these days. The reason we have support from the fire department is because we've made it real clear to them that we have the money earmarked for 2 new fire stations. The fire station on Cherry and the fire station over on Russian. 2 fire stations that are probably 50 to 60 years old. When I heard the fire station on Cherry actually has water leaking through the roof, I said, this is shameful. These are public servants, first responders that were responding to us when we dialed 911. They should be living in conditions that merit what they do and provide to our community. In addition, any excess funds will be used to build our first community arts resource facility over where the community center is located, cultural arts facility. The community center, similarly, the cost to rehabilitate it is too much. We need a cultural arts facility so kids, when they do entertainment, they have a place that they can do it and we can be proud of it. Thank you.
Alyssa?
Hi, yes, I too support Measure LL to bring additional funds to the city of Newark. And I understand the priority is to rebuild the infrastructure of our fire stations, and I absolutely support that. I know that some of the other intended use is for looking at our recreational spaces, and I think that's where I would differ from the mayor, where additional funds though I'd much love to have a cultural center or additional building, we really need to look at our parks. We need to look, for those of us that were there at Newark Days, at the fairs, and it is our restrooms, our infrastructure, the parks are in disrepair. So we really need to, I think, before we start building anything new, take care of some of the urgent needs that we have in our existing infrastructure.
Thank you. Jason?
Yes, I support Measure LL. I forgot to mention earlier, I sit on the Alameda County Fire Advisory Commission, and that's the number one thing that they're asking Newark or District 2, which I represent, when are we going to rebuild the stations? Because our firefighters, that's their second home. And we all know the state of the fire stations, and they need to be rebuilt. So Measure LL is critical in addressing that. And in terms of excess funding, I go to the Silliman Center every weekday, most likely, with the exception of today, because I had to attend this. So I'm missing out on a workout. But there's a lot of things at the Silliman Center. That's the beacon of all things recreation. A lot of people go there to go swimming or water aerobics, or the elderly, they come there to work out in the gym. And a lot of young people go there to play basketball. But there's no longer a teen center there, which I'd like to see revitalized and reestablished, a teen center to provide a dedicated time and space for those in 6th through 12th grade. Like I used to go there. I was there starting in the 6th grade. I went all the way through junior year of high school, but then when I started driving, I didn't want to go anymore. So I think that's why they closed down, because I wasn't there. But improving Silliman Center, making sure that the nets are replaced, the blue divider in the basketball courts is replaced, the scoreboards, and then the baseball field nets are fixed, so that way balls don't bounce on people's cars.
Thank you. Alyssa, we'll start the next question with you. How would you describe the role of a mayor, and how is it different from that of a council member?
So how do I describe the role of mayor? It's interesting because I've been reflecting on that. Again, I understand the role of an elected official and the difference between, we'll say, the administrative staff. So very clear on the difference in responsibilities. But I really think that the role of mayor just goes so much deeper. We are equals with city council. Our vote counts as one, just like the city council members. But I think that the role of the mayor, people look to that individual to set the tone for to how we're doing as a city. Am I as a leader engaging? Do I feel comfortable as a citizen approaching the mayor? Does that person represent me? And so there is a lot more pressure, responsibility in the role of the mayor than I would say on a city council, because I think, again, most of us as residents are looking at that individual as the leader, as the informal leader, if you will. Again, so important that they're setting the tone, that we feel that they're actually advocating for me, regardless of my color, regardless of where I live in the city, regardless of the language that I speak, and that we're able to have difficult conversations, even if we don't agree, that they're going to hear me out and they're going to hear my concerns. And so it is not an easy role to have, because it is a big responsibility. But that is exactly why I'm running for mayor, because I believe that is what I can do for every citizen here in Newark.
Thank you. Jason?
The role of mayor, for one, is the presiding officer at city council meetings. They're the ones front and center leading the council meetings if they're present. Otherwise, it would go to the vice mayor, council pro tem. But the role of mayor, you're the presiding officer, and you're the lead person on all things resolutions. Your signature goes on that resolution if it passes. And how does it differ from city council? Well, each member of council will have one vote. There's 5 people, 4 city council members, and a mayor. Each person gets one vote. But again, the mayor is the presiding officer. He or she is the figurehead, and they're public facing. Most likely, if you talk to a random person on the street, if they could name any person on the city council, it's most likely they're not going to be the mayor, because their name is on everything, and you'll see them out in public most likely, but not to, throw down the city council members, but the mayor is more public facing, and that's what people think is the person who makes all the decisions. But there are only 5 cities in California where the mayor is the executive, and that's Fresno, San Diego, Los Angeles, Oakland, and San Francisco. City council and mayors for every other city, they're a legislative body and they can make ordinances and proclamations, but ultimately executive authority lies with the city manager. So there's a difference there too. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
The one word I would use to characterize the role of the mayor is the ambassador for the city. They're the person that the public is going to see at most events. I made it real clear that if there's an event in Newark, about Newark, I'm going to be at that event. People want the mayor at the event. I've served on the city council since 2014. I've been the vice mayor. But when it comes to events, ribbon cuttings, things of that nature, the one person they're going to call, the one person they want to be there is the mayor. I've attended hundreds of events, from 5th grade promotions where I had the opportunity to see kids moving on to the middle school. I've attended nursing graduations over at the Salvation Army. I've attended religious events. I've attended many cultural events. But that's what makes Newark such a great community. We have such a diversity in our community in terms of the different cultures, the different religions, and that's what makes Newark great. And I'm so proud to be able to attend all of those functions and learn more about what makes this such a rich community to live in. My colleague mentioned that he would like to see term limits. I worked in San Jose where there were term limits. You lose vision for what's important to the community when you have term limits. So we need to keep council elected and let that vision continue moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Jason, we'll start with you. What specifically would you do as mayor in terms of business improvement and retention? How do you envision your tenure improving the life of Newark residents?
Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people I went to high school with and a lot of younger folks are saying, let's go to Fremont, let's go to Union City, Milpitas, San Jose, and Stanford, though you can't compete with Stanford and Santana Road. They're established, but we can make a dent with Fremont and Union City, and that means let's bring an anchor into the city, a place that's popular, a restaurant or a retail facility. And that will drive more business into Newark because they see that there's this well-known, famous brand or restaurant, and they'll want to come into Newark too. And that in turn will help the community. More sales tax dollars means more revenue for the city, and that means more services that can be provided for the residents of Newark. And so that's one approach I would do, is bring a big named retailer or fast food place or another, let's say, tech place to move into Newark, bring the jobs, bring the revenue, and it'll make residents happier because recreation, that's one thing that residents want, more recreational services. And Birch Park, since the drought, they removed and shut off the water facility there. Why not bring it back? We can help make sure our residents are able to enjoy the amenities that the city can provide and offer. Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you. We brought Costco to Newark. Think about that. We brought Costco to Newark, a city of less than 50,000 people, and they came to the city of Newark. Their first day in operation, $2 million in sales in one day. So we support businesses here in Newark. But we're in that enviable position, as I mentioned earlier, because of our proximity to the Dumbarton Bridge. We don't need to bring every business that wants to come in and make Newark home. We don't need more warehousing space, which does not create the jobs that communities desire. We can be selective in terms of the types of businesses that we bring in. I hosted, the first mayor in Newark history, I hosted the State of the City address in Old Town, outdoors, because we wanted to demonstrate to the community that that part of our city is so important to us. We want to revitalize the Old Town neighborhood, improve the infrastructure, get quality restaurants and businesses down there in the community so that people can get up from their homes and walk to a nearby business and enjoy restaurant and coffee shops and things of that nature. So we're going to do everything we can to attract new businesses, and as my colleague, Councilmember Susie Collazo, who will be ending 14 years as an outstanding member of this community and city council, says at every council meeting, shop Newark. We need to create an environment where people want to shop in Newark, and we're working in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa?
Yes, can you repeat the question, please?
What specifically would you do as mayor in terms of business improvement and retention? And how do you envision your tenure improving the life of Newark residents?
This is something that, again, for those of us who've been long-term residents, we look around and we said, what happened to all the businesses? There's so many empty spaces, or when we see businesses come in, many of them, before you know it, they're gone. So this is something that I have been thinking quite a bit about, and just having conversations, and you know, one of the things we as a city need to do is understand what are we going to support, right? Just because we bring a business doesn't mean that people are going to go there. So what is the type of community engagement we as city leadership, what are we driving to understand what that need is? Jason, has talked about a particular vision. I in my head, I said I had to go to this, place in Union City to go get myself a beer. So, we all have our preferences, but what are we doing to really have an educated assessment of what's needed and what's going to be supported? Because that's what we need to then go sell to the potential businesses that are looking and thinking about coming here, maybe entrepreneurs who are looking to start a business here. So that, I think that is a key responsibility as myself as a leader of the city, as well, of course, of the council. And again, what that does is, to the second part of the question, which is, how does that contribute to the residents, is that we have our options here locally without having to leave the city.
Thank you. The next question, we start with you, Michael. You've heard of the recent Supreme Court decision about homeless encampments and Governor Newsom's interpretation of that. How would you apply Governor Newsom's interpretation of the Supreme Court decision to your city's response to homelessness?
Yeah, homelessness is a serious issue that we face here in the state of California, and we're not immune from it here in the city of Newark. I'm extremely compassionate to those that unfortunately can't either afford a home or due to mental illness or drug addiction find themselves on the street. It's real hardship for local communities to have to deal with that. One thing I'm really pleased about is our police department shows extreme compassion when they go out and they confront or meet a homeless person. Undoubtedly, that person may be going through a mental crisis or a drug issue. And our police department is understanding that I need to treat that person with compassion, try to provide them with the resources that they're going to need to maybe get the help that they need to either overcome the addiction or the mental illness that they're struggling with. As I mentioned, we got $38 million from the state of California. We immediately converted half those units to folks that needed just a little bit of economic help, and we gave them housing vouchers. And I'm so proud to have advocated for that, because I sit on the Housing Authority for Alameda County, and I pushed hard to get those 60 vouchers, and we got them. The other 60-something units were made available to those folks that are on the verge of homelessness. But it's not a situation where they went in there without responsibility for themselves and their actions. They're treated no differently than any other tenant renting an apartment unit. There's rules, there's expectations on how they're going to conduct themselves. And if they don't, they're going to be evicted. So we're really making an effort to try to find solutions to those folks that are experiencing homelessness or on the verge of. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa?
Yes, again, agree. This is such a difficult topic, and there's such passionate opinions on how things, on how we should roll out any sort of initiative. But at the end of the day, the folks that are out there, they're human beings, and we need to show compassion. And we need to be able to have, again, as a leader of the city, have the courage to have these difficult conversations with other folks that are saying, just get them out of the city, right? That is not okay. And, I have had similar conversations with folks that I've been speaking to, which is, again, At the end of the day, they are somebody's family member. And how would we want our family members to be treated? So this is not something that Newark can solve on our own. We have to partner with the county. We have to look at funding, what kind of programs we can connect these folks with. I learned about, in talking to folks, just private and nonprofit organizations that are out there where they specialize in finding homes for folks that are homeless. We have to remember that I think first and foremost, most people think that a lot of the folks on the street, if you will, are drug addicts, but most of them have mental health issues. And so really finding compassionate having a compassionate approach and finding resources for them will be very critical.
Thank you. Jason?
The homeless population, we have to consider their story. Not everybody is just there to get a free ride. And so we have to understand, how did they get there? Some people, their house foreclosed, they were laid off, and now they're living on the streets or in their car just trying to make ends meet. And there are a handful of families that they're living in their car. They have a job, they're making money, but they have to pay their car payment and also have to pay for gas, and they have multiple children. Not all things lead to that one particular example, but we have to understand, how did they get there in the first place? What can we do as a community? And it's not a citywide issue, it's a statewide, countrywide issue. So you have to partner up with the region as a whole. Let's partner up with the whole 9-county San Francisco Bay Area, make a collaborative between every city, every county, every agency that has those public lands that are quote unquote accessible for the unhoused because they're not gated up yet. But partnering with them to make sure that everybody's interests are aligned, because all the political leaders are hearing this from every single agency. What are you going to do about the homeless? And so you have to work with the other counties, the other cities, work together and come up with a solution. It'll be hard, but at least every single jurisdiction will have a say in what they can do and what they'll do.
Thank you. And this is going to be the last question before we pivot to your closing statements. And Alyssa, we'll start this with you. Newark may be susceptible to sea level rise and flooding in the coming years. Of particular concern is further development along the Newark shoreline. As mayor, how would you address these concerns?
Yeah. Yes, we need to continue to educate ourselves. There's quite a bit of studies out there on just the critical role that the wetlands plays in protecting the rest of Newark with regards to sea level rise. So again, I kind of come full circle to, I think one of the most pressing issues, or what's driving the conversation with the wetlands, is the need to build. And I think that's what we really need to question is, what is it that we need to build, and when does it need to be built, and how are we looking to protect the wetlands? Again, it's almost like it's become a slogan, let's protect the wetlands. Do we understand what that means, right? I think, again, we as city leadership have the responsibility to educate everybody in our community about the importance of the wetlands, of course, preserving the wildlife, and again, the protection against the flooding of existing properties. So, I feel very strongly that is a moral responsibility of us as leaders to educate ourselves and to really put everything through a very tough filter before we would risk anything with regards to our wetlands.
Thank you. Jason?
There has to be an approach to work with our federal government partners, from the U.S. Army Corps to the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife. They probably own the land that is the sea, and so you have to work with them to find funding measures, studying measures, planning measures, and other engineering measures potentially to help address potential flooding. And also working with the Alameda County Flood Control Agency, who has the jurisdiction over county flooding, and Newark included. So there has to be another government-wide collaborative between multiple agencies to help solve that issue that is rising sea level. And it's not just a Newark issue, so Newark shouldn't go at it all alone, because there's other cities around the Bay Area, they have the same shoreline, whether that's north or south of ours, but we should all work together with the Army Corps for the federal level, and then the state government, and then county government, because everybody has an interest in making sure that flooding along the tip of the San Francisco Bay doesn't harm Newark and harm other surrounding agencies. So everybody, every agency has a stake in making sure that this issue is covered and that they cover their residents, and Newark should join that and make the effort in establishing that.
Thank you. And Michael?
Sea level rise and climate action, it's kind of like an earthquake here in California. It's not when is it going to happen. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And that's what we need to face. As mentioned, we need to collaborate with our federal and state partners. Newark recently hired consultants to take an initial stab at looking at sea level rise and climate action plan. And what can we do as a city to begin mitigating the possibility that we might be impacted by sea level rise? And one of the first questions that was raised by a constituent that attended that meeting was, well, you're going to have 2 public meetings. And I stood up and said, no, we're going to have more than 2 public meetings. This is a long-term project that we're going to have many conversations over many years in terms of what are we, the city, going to do to mitigate any damage to our community. We are working in partnership with Fremont and Union City we recently developed our hazardous mitigation plan, and that addresses a number of different issues throughout the area. And so we are working in collaboration with them on what is in the best interest of our communities moving forward to make sure that we're not directly impacted by these events. It's a real problem. It's one that we're going to have to face. We either face it now or turn a blind eye to it and have our children deal with the consequences. I'm not willing to allow that to happen. We as the mayors of the Bay Area, East Bay, we're going to work collaboratively to make sure we come up with a solution that meets all of our needs. Thank you.
Thank you. And now it's time for your closing statements. Each of you has 2 minutes. Jason, we'll start with you.
The first question was, why am I running? And it was change. That's what I was referring to. And so to hearken on that, a change of demographics on the council, because voters in Newark, we don't have a 100% voting record of those who are registered. Why is that? You have to answer that question and make sure that you're able to talk and communicate with those voters saying, hey, we're running, these are the candidates, or you have district-based elections so that someone close-knit in their community can also run and get elected. Because we don't want 5 people from the same neighborhood all to get elected. Whether that's happened, I have no idea. But that's something we should prevent, making sure every single community has a voice. And also, we've recently elected a young person to the city council. Why not 2? And increasing the number of commissions on the city so that our community can serve. And because the one thing that voters look at is whether they're involved with government, we have a limited number of ability for our residents to serve on commissions, committees, to get that experience. And it's like people graduating from college. They're applying for entry-level jobs that require 3 to 5 years of experience, but how can you get that? So let's change that narrative, and let's also improve our community and also send leaders to higher offices to further help Newark. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you. One of the challenges is to limit Mike Hanna to 2 minutes. That's always going to be a challenge. One thing you're going to get from me, and this is not in part of my script, I love the city of Newark. You want a mayor that loves your community and loves interacting with the residents, and that's where it starts. But I want to thank the League of Women Voters for Fremont, Union City, and Newark for hosting this candidate forum, because as mentioned, I want every citizen to vote. You have to participate in the democratic process. You have a voice, take advantage of it. It has been my honor to serve the community as your mayor and recognize the importance of public service. Let me provide a brief summary. My wife Kathleen and I, who is in the audience tonight, have called Newark home for 42 years. In addition to raising 7 children in Newark, we also have both dedicated our careers to public service. Kathleen was a librarian in Newark branch for close to 18 years. I had the pleasure of working and serving the residents of San Jose for almost 26 years. Upon retirement, sought opportunities to volunteer and have been a Meals on Wheels volunteer for the last 10 years, delivering meals to homebound seniors who are not only provided a nutritious meal, but a volunteer that's going to check on their well-being daily. In addition, I have served on the Viola Blythe Board these last 2 years. Viola was a true inspirational leader in our community whose tradition of serving those less fortunate by providing them food and clothing and other essential services continues today. I subsequently sought and was appointed to serve on the Planning Commission and had the opportunity to serve there for a couple years. I was elected to the City Council in 2014, securing the most votes out of a pool of 7 candidates. I ran unopposed in 2018, and when Mayor Emeritus Alan Nagy decided to not seek re-election, I sought the office of mayor and was overwhelmingly elected. We've had the opportunity to discuss our vision for the city, and therefore I wish to spend a minute or two talking about the folks that I've met on the campaign trail today. Let me just highlight a couple of those folks that I met. I approached a home where the homeowner had an insignia for the U.S. Marine Corps, and as she answered the door, I thanked her for her service to our community. She mentioned to me that her son had died in action, and I spent time comforting her. Those are the people that we meet every day. Those are the people that make Newark proud, and I'm proud to be their mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa,
Yes.
wrap this
Sorry.
up for us.
Okay, thank you. Once again, thank you, League of Women's Voters. Thanks for those of you that are listening again at home and are here in the audience. I love Newark. I've lived here for over 30 years, raised my kids here. My kids have gone to the schools here. I love the schools. I am committed to partner with our schools to bring them up to the level that our kids deserve. For decades, For decades, is that
You're
on?
good.
Sorry. For decades, Newark's mayors have predominantly consisted of the same demographic. And what does that mean to me? It means that they may not always fully grasp the needs of our diverse community. We've changed significantly over this last 30 years that I've lived here. And as someone that's here, that's an elected official that works with the community, I understand and I know how to connect with folks, and I am committed to really working to solve these issues. I want our kids who are going away to college to be able to come back, and we need to hurry up and start working on that to get a path for that. So I am committed to working and tackling these issues. I'd ask you to please join the Alameda County Democratic Party, the Asian Pacific American Democratic Caucus of Alameda County, Tri-City Democrats, the Muslim Democrats, and other local officials who support my run for and are working to get me elected to be the mayor of Newark, because they know that I am capable, that I am ready to hit the ground running, and I will absolutely tackle those issues that concern you and me. Thank you.
Alyssa, Jason, and Michael, we want to thank you for your participation in this forum today and for your willingness to run for office and continue to serve your community. We want to be sure that all the voters know about vote411.org website. It is a comprehensive, nonpartisan online guide to elections covering federal, state, and local races in California. Is that time for me?
I thought it was.
Go to vote411.org for more information. You can also get personalized ballot lists that includes all the candidates and issues that you will be asked to decide on, along with links to information about each. You can even check your polling location and create a cheat sheet of your choices to take along with you when you vote. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so make sure to stay engaged during and after the elections. And please remind your family and friends to vote no later than November 5th. And thank you to the audience for watching this forum. Thank you.